This is the continuation of my notions of a national platform begun in the last post. It's necessary to make an addendum to point number 5 regarding health care. Memo to lawmakers. Only 20% of Americans approve of the job Congress is doing, and that number hasn't varied by more than a few percentage points since 2006. The disapproval rating of Congress stands at 74%, meaning that 3 out of 4 Americans think you're doing a really lousy job. You really should feel terrible about that. Here's what you need to know. A big piece of the public disapproval of you is due to your making backroom deals, sleaze behind closed doors, like what the Republican senators have done with their cruel health care plan that keeps millions of Americans from getting health care at all. That's why we, the people, don't approve of you. All you have to do is to craft something that provides health care for everyone and do your deliberation in public, opening the process to comments from actual American people who will be impacted by what you do. This is not complicated, and you really can do this. Memo to Republicans in Congress. We the people know that your American Health Care Act, the AHCA, isn't really about health care at all. It's about giving an $800 billion cash windfall to already rich people. Can you be any more disingenuous? Shame on you. Point number 8. George W. Bush may go down in history as our worst president because he started 2 unnecessary wars which are likely to continue for decades. Donald Trump is trying to one-up him by tweaking the nose of an infantile nuclear dictator, thumbing his nose at our strongest allies, buddying up to Vladimir Putin, and refusing to endorse Article 5 of the NATO Charter. Memo to lawmakers. You already know that only Congress has the power to declare war. Put on your big boy, big girl pants and take a stand and fulfill your obligation. We don't need perpetual war initiated by autocrats. Economic teaching moment. War robs us of huge amounts of money, trillions of dollars. The cost of every bullet or rocket that's fired is lost forever. In contrast, the money spent in America, on America, gets recycled nearly perpetually to the benefit of all of us. Mortality teaching moment. Our military people who get killed in our unnecessary wars really don't come home and resume their lives. They're dead. And if you didn't stand against our unnecessary wars, it's your fault. Do you support our military? Then stop sending our people off to die for no good reason. Point 9. If Trump gets his way, we're going to defund the National Institutes of Health, the EPA, and gut our diplomatic corps. So we'll cut spending on cancer research, we'll let our air and water get polluted again, and make our military our only foreign affairs tool. All to save less than a couple of % of our budget. Memo to lawmakers. Really? Please wake up and tell us you're not that self-defeating. Put on those big boy, big girl pants and take a stand for America. Point 10. Stephen Bannon wants to tear down our established order, and so far Trump seems to be his puppet in charge of dismantling what makes the American government work. At the same time, Trump is collapsing the international coalition that has kept us strong and safe for 100 years, while at the same time sucking up to vicious autocrats around the world. Using duck logic, this looks, walks, and quacks like a duck that is in the process of the self-immolation of America. Memo to lawmakers, get a grip on reality. Stop this un-American president and put our government back together. Note that once again, this will require that you put on your big boy, big girl pants. Point 11. Fossil fuel is on the way out because we're choking on its exhaust and the planet is warming at a staggering rate that will cook us all. We need clean energy, not more oil extracted from ecologically perilous places. Memo to lawmakers. You'll be okay without big oil and big gas campaign contributions. I promise. So stop the idiocy of, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know about global warming. Craft legislation that will drive a complete transformation of our energy infrastructure, a moonshot, like solar collectors on all roofs, solar farms, wind energy, tide energy, a new smart grid, and all the rest. If you don't care enough about your grandchildren to do this, do it for mine. Point 12. 100 years ago, graduating from 8th grade was a fine accomplishment and enough education for someone to get a good job with good pay. A few decades later, a high school diploma was needed for a good job, so we made high school tuition free for our kids. The world has changed and even more education is needed today. Right now, there are 6 million jobs going wanting, many because employers can't find people with the education required for those jobs. Memo to lawmakers. Make state college education tuition free and find a way to get past property taxes being the primary funding for our schools, because this antiquated system leaves kids in poor areas unable to get a good education. That sentences them to a substandard life and robs us all of their contributions to a better America. And stop the efforts to privatize education, because that isn't the answer, even if big donors want you to believe it is. Yes, all of this will have tax implications, just as the switch to tuition-free high school did. Figure it out. Point 13. Russia is not our friend. Russia is an opponent, and considering their ongoing cyber attack on the U.S. and our allies, they may be considered our enemy. Failing to vigorously oppose their behavior and impose penalties on them is ineptitude in the extreme and possibly treason. It's true that the executive branch conducts American foreign policy. It's also true that both the House and Senate are investigating Russian hacking and possible collusion from within. The problem is that those investigations are cumbersome and glacially slow, which means that the president has plenty of time to undermine American security. Memo to lawmakers. I really don't care how much money the president owes to Russian interests, or the pictures they may have of him, or any other pressures Putin can put on Trump. I don't care about Trump's notion of making friends with Russia. They are antithetical to our beliefs, our way of life, and our safety. Find a way to stop the foreign policy disasters that Trump is creating. Point 14. It's absurd to be able to say this, but we are living in a world where millions actually believe in alternative facts and fake news. Surprise, Donald Trump didn't invent it. This has been going on for a long time. The concept of shame for one's despicable actions like lying no longer seems to exist, and people are prepared to dismiss provable facts. Indeed, millions regularly dismiss reality because they have been told by self-serving types that others are lying to them, and that itself is a lie. But it's crafty stuff for those wanting power and for whom integrity isn't high on their list of personal attributes. Memo to lawmakers. Are you lying or misleading the public? Stop it. Stop manipulating to get control of the Supreme Court. Stop telling Americans that it's all about jobs, 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 and then doing nothing to stimulate job growth. Stop saying we'll have better health care at a much lower cost when you can't deliver either one. Stop telling the American people that those who report on you are liars when they report on your dalliances. Stop claiming your programs won't privatize Social Security and Medicare when that's exactly what they will do. Stop creating enemies like the press just to gain popular support for you, because now the truth has become an enemy, and that is corroding our society. One last time, put on your big boy, big girl pants and tell the truth. Final memo to lawmakers. What I've outlined in this post and the one prior is what Americans want. This isn't fringe stuff, but doing this won't be easy. In fact, it will be hard. There are competing interests, and some are legitimate and quite valuable, with the exception, of course, of the issue of lying. Nevertheless, everything is either a negotiation and a compromise, or it is stagnation through polarization. It's your choice. Choose well, especially when it's hard. Unavoidably, our solutions come down to a four-letter word: work. Roll up your shirt sleeves and blouse sleeves and get to work. Not the hateful in-your-face behavior that we see so often, or the misleading hyperbolic idiocy that dominates the news, but work that's focused on a better America and improving the lives of all Americans. If you can't do that, just resign, because otherwise, we the people will be sending you home real soon. Get to work. I'm Jack Alshuler.